Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Mind and Muse Crafts podcast. This is my channel, and I am your host, Caroline, and I come to you every couple of weeks on this channel where I share with you what I have been up to in the crafty part of my life. I do give you updates, sometimes other parts of my life, but mostly I talk about, lately, mostly I talk about my crochet. So how have you been? How are things going where you're at right now? Well, on this side of the world, I come to you from the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. And this side of the world, we are trying slowly to get back to normal. Normal in the sense that we're trying to open schools, which was, I think, the only part of the community that was still languishing, waiting for a better opportunity, waiting for fewer cases of the COVID-19 Delta version of the virus to come up. And so finally, this August, the university had planned to begin classes again on August the 11th. And then the government approved the vaccination mandate, where it gave schools, universities, and other institutions and agencies the opportunity to require vaccination, COVID-19 vaccination, in order to enter their premises. Schools and universities delayed their openings so that they could fulfill the requirements by collecting the right amount, the correct data, and all of that. And so we were actually going to begin the 16th of August. But then a tropical storm, first of all 6th, and then after that Grace, decided to come our way. And thankfully for us, they decided to go our separate ways, but we were so close by the time it decided to go its own way that they did have to delay the beginning of classes until the following Tuesday. And so last Tuesday, finally, classes began here in our public education system and also in the public university where I work. So that's been fun. We have vaccine mandates, and we also have mask mandates. So yes, we have been teaching with masks. It hasn't been easy. So we're trying to get back to normal. We're going to see how these first couple of weeks turn out. You know that things never start immediately. It always takes like a little bit of time for you to see if cases are going to go up, for you to see if we're receiving students that already have COVID and then are passing it on to other students or teachers or even the administrative staff. We just have to wait it out. We have to wait it out and see, and that's just the way it is. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of months, and hopefully we'll be able to complete the school year. I know that I had mentioned that I had considered not going back, but I reconsidered. As you can imagine, going back to work, even part-time, especially in education where you bring so much home to do, so much time you do at home that you're not paid for actually, but it has to be done. And so I haven't had all the time in the world to keep up with my crochet, but I've tried. So let's get on with it. Let's talk about things that have reached end of the line. Let's talk about walking the talk, and let's give you some progress on my progress. So here we are. I am modeling for you today. I know this is something that I have used before with you. These, I believe, are just simply glass teardrops that I attached using wire to an old pendant. I believe this pendant was from Avon. And it could be used as a pendant or as a brooch, and I usually use it as a pendant. And so the silver coating was wearing down, but I thought that I could revive it by adding these six glass beads tied in the middle so that they form like this flower. And then to hide the wire that's in the middle, then I glued on a disc. This is a rose quartz disc, and in the middle, I believe it just has a small, like, I believe it could be a silver saucer that I have also held everything together using wire, and I've also had it glued so that, you know, just to give it some backup to the wire. And I always thought that I always do this, right? I always take things off and then I can't get them back on. But anyway, let me give you a close-up if you haven't seen it for a while. I know that as long as my face is showing, the camera isn't the greatest at doing close-ups. But I've always been proud of this piece. I've always liked it a lot. And it's got matching earrings that I'm also wearing. And it's got matching earrings that I'm also wearing. And so they're also essentially handmade. And all of that I decided to share with you once again so that I could also share with you my river tank top that has been completed. And as always, previous me prepared a small video that I'll share with you, or at least some photo takes, because I'll check to see if the video is appropriate for this audience. And then because it'll be easier to appreciate the whole top if you can see it completely. So I'll insert that here and talk to you a little bit about the top while you are watching these photographs or the video, right? As you remember, this is the river tank top, and this is the river tank top that is by K Crochet, K and Crochet, both with K instead of the crochet doesn't have a C, is what I mean. And you can find it at .com. She's also on Instagram as K Crochet. And this is Tunisian. The new thing about it is that this is Tunisian crochet. It is not normal crochet. And as I spoke to you last week, and maybe even the previous one before that, I was making this as an entry for the Summer of Romance Cal that is hosted by Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast and Clarissa of the Crochet Cakes podcast. And for the past 4 or 5 years, they have been hosting in the summer, this Summer of Romance Cal. And the theme for this year was paranormal romance. And so for that theme, I went to one of my favorite movies, which is the movie Ghost, which is by Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore were the main characters. And Demi Moore as the main character is an artist, and she does pottery and she paints, and as such she is always not always, but a lot of the scene shots are taken with her in overalls and tank tops. So I decided to make a tank top this summer. It went with the summer. In addition, it was been very, 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 very hot here and in many other parts of the Northern Hemisphere this summer. And so I went with that. And it is actually not a difficult make, I don't think. I think even if you're new to Tunisian crochet, if you would just sit down and make a large swatch, go a little bit bigger than what she tells you to make, and practice the different stitches you're going to use, then I think you would be very successful at it, because it's basically all the same pattern going all the way up until you reach under well, you do it separately. So the back until you reach a certain length that she gives you, and the front she also gives you a length, but the idea is to continue once you reach that length and do these like the shoulder part of the tank, which connects then to the back part. And so as I'm new to Tunisian crochet, you all know that. Let me show you what the top actually should look like. So here, I've got 2 takes of it on her pattern. This is the front, which you're looking at now on me. So it's got this open side over here. I don't know if that was on purpose or if it was a planned item, because I noticed that even if I had not wanted to do that, I wouldn't have been able to close it because Tunisian crochet does not stretch horizontally, barely. It has no horizontal stretch and doesn't have a lot of vertical stretch either, but mostly it does not have the horizontal stretch, and I could not have closed it because if I had closed it, I wouldn't be able to get it on. So that was a needed detail in the pattern, I think, but maybe not. I'm new to Tunisian crochet, so maybe it was just me doing my foundation Tunisian crochet too tight. And so there's the back. And so you can see how the shoulder straps meet the back. And you can notice on her also how the tank is not tight around the back. It's kind of loose, like you could probably put your hand or at least your fingers through this top part here. And I have to say it wasn't something that, well, because I'm new to Tunisian crochet, my foundation Tunisian crochet on one side was much tighter than on the other side. And as I went up and I got used to the stitch, I believe my gauge loosened, and therefore this top band, the top band here before I start the shoulder, was a lot looser on the front than it was, on the top than it was on the bottom. And so basically I just didn't like the way on the back it was really gapey. So as usual, even though I know nothing about Tunisian crochet, I decided to give myself a hand at modifications. And the modifications were only done for me. And I do believe I added a little bit of length to it because I didn't want it to be too croppy. And then that was an easy part. That was just, keep doing rows. That there no thought needed there. And then once I finished both sides of this, notice, maybe you can notice there that it really doesn't have I don't know. I think it doesn't have an edging, that what you're seeing is just the bind off, because Tunisian crochet, you also bind off your stitches at the end. And here also. And here also. And so, but me. So I finished off this whole sleeve, the sleeve hole here. I finished it off with just normal single crochets and then crab stitch. I did that there and I did that here. I finished it off with single crochet and then did a crab stitch. And because essentially this is, if I've mentioned it before, but I'll repeat, the yarn that I've been using is a Stylecraft viscose linen blend, but it doesn't have, it's only got 30% linen in it. So, I don't know, I thought it might stretch a bit. So it's kind of like reinforcing the edges of the armhole with the single crochet and then the crab stitch. And so then I didn't like the way crab stitch looked around the collar, but I did do single crochet around all the front collar. So picked up at the back, went all the way around, came down, went all the way up. And that I made sure I did with a smaller hook. Well, this is done in 6.5, except for the foundation that she tells you to do it in 4.5, which on the back worked out for me. On the front, turned out to be too tight. But then I made sure that I did these crochet stitches in 4mm crochet hook. 4mm crochet hook. And then I did the crab stitching in a 3.5. So I went around here in a 4mm with a 4mm crochet hook, and then on the back that I, in between the two, let's see, yep, in between these, from here to here, I did a row of single crochet and then a second row of single crochet in a 3.75. So one in the 4 and then in a 3.75, because I really tried to bring that in so it wouldn't hang and it wouldn't separate from my back. I think it was okay. And you also probably could notice that I did my straps. I did my strap a bit thicker because she gives you the option here of going down to a certain size or to the size that you're most comfortable with. So I left it a bit wider. Plus the single crochets on both sides. Well, I thought that was me. I thought that was made for me. So yeah, I haven't worn it out. I'll confess. It hasn't been washed, which is something that I always think you should do for linen. You should always wash it, and you don't need to block it like aggressively. Tunisian crochet is not going to stretch anyway, but lay it flat, you know, and like put it into the shape that you want it so it will dry. And but you could wash it actually a couple of times. Probably you might want to try with your swatch once you've made it. Wash it once, dry it, wash it twice, dry it, and see how many washes you think it needs until it feels soft to you. Because the linen will soften up with washes. But the first time you wear it, it tends to feel like it's sticking into your skin. Because linen's got all these little hairs that, remember that linen is not animal, is animal product. So, you know, it's different. It's different, but you can feel it, like all the little, tiny little, I don't know, parts of the, I don't want to call them hairs because they're not, this is not animal here, but the tiny little fibers are sticking into you, and then it goes away as you wash it. I have, if you'll remember, I did another top a couple of years back, totally in linen, and that has softened up to be something very comfortable at right now. So I think I'm going to like this a lot. I think it pairs very well with this and other jewelry. It's actually a little bit hard to decide what jewelry to wear this morning, but I went for this because it's a favorite. So that's it. That's my, I don't know what I'm calling it. I haven't thought up a name yet, but I will at some point before I put it on Ravelry. I'll think up a name for it. But for now, it's my version of the River Bank Tank. River Bank Tank. I don't remember what I said before, but if I didn't say that, that's what it is. River Bank Tank is a paid-for pattern, and it's by K Crochet. And so, yes, happy with it. Would I make more? I would. I find Tunisian crochet a lot more comforting than regular crochet even, because like regular crochet, I just want to get it done. And with Tunisian crochet, it's kind of like there's a rhythm to it. For me, there's a rhythm to it, and going all the way down and then that backward pass. It's different, and I like it. I don't know how many of you have heard about the magazine, crochet magazine, called Morit, that is coming out now in September. If you're on Instagram, so many people have been talking about it and posting about it. The designers for the first issue of the magazine, the editor for the magazine, the publisher of the magazine, as well as other people like myself who have just subscribed to it or donated a little bit of money at the beginning in order for it to make the magazine a reality, then you might have heard about it. If you're not into Instagram, then you probably haven't. That's Moorit, Moorit. Yeah, it's a fall issue, so wool is coming back for those of you that live in parts of the world that get cold. For me, that does not make it very attractive because we've been very limited to travel due to COVID. So working with wool has not been my goal recently. I haven't even been up to date on the socks that I said I was going to be making this year. I haven't been making them at all. I haven't even made one pair except for the pair that I made for Clarissa that I owed her since last year. But maybe now that Socktober is coming around again, I'll get back to it. But for now, I have decided that I'm going to try and to keep my makes in material that I can actually use here on the island. Material and yarn gauge, because I mean, even Aran weight cotton or even DK weight cotton, if you crochet it turns out to be so thick that I really can't use it unless I am in a temperature controlled environment where it's pretty cool. And at the university, most of the classrooms are air conditioned, and my office, but it is an air conditioned system that breaks down frequently. So I always have like something I travel like over an hour. And after Maria, after the earthquakes, after COVID, there's been, I don't know about you guys where you live, but our roads have been abandoned. And so there are craters all over the place, unevenness all over the place, and pieces missing here and there. And it's just a mess. And so it's very difficult to travel, sometimes even the simplest distance. And though where I work is not, I mean, it's not near where, it's not close by in terms of being down the road from me, but we're a small island anyway, right? But it's been taking me maybe an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours to get to the university due to all the traffic and all the bad roads. And now they decided to start construction now when we decided to go back to school. And so it's really a mess. It's really a mess. And you can't really count on anything. So I usually take an extra pair of shoes, and I usually take an extra outfit just in case something goes wrong. Just in case the air conditioner breaks, I'll take a cooler top. In the meantime, I'm trying to use all my crochet tops to go to work and give them some use, and just take along something just in case I need a change of plans once I reach the university. So there you go. Watch out for more if you haven't. I believe they are still selling pre-purchases. So before it's actually published, they're still selling copies prepaid, and so you can get that. And it is going to be, I believe, a very pretty magazine. And the reason that I thought about it, the connection between what I was talking about, which was this Tunisian crochet tank top, and the magazine, is that one of the shawls that is presented is a Tunisian crochet shawl, but the designer has worked it so that you can actually use a regular crochet hook. You don't need to use a Tunisian crochet hook if you don't have one. So I don't do a lot of shawls. I don't make a lot of shawls because I don't use a lot of shawls here, but I'm going to look into that and see what's up with that one. So my advice to you is that you should do it too. Okay, so that's my finished object, except for another pair of earrings that I worked on this week, which I didn't wear them because, I don't know, I kind of wanted something that matched a little bit better. I love matching stuff, but I don't think these would have been bad because they're orange and green, match. Maybe it would have looked a little bit too fallish for me, and I'm still in summer. The Summer of Romance cowl, if I didn't mention it before, was extended until the 31st of August because they're doing a very informal cowl only on Instagram. And so I don't believe anybody requested that they open up a Ravelry thread, so it wasn't opened. And so Clarissa decided that, well, let's leave it until the end of the summer. Let's stop rushing fall in and enjoy the time we have. But anyway, back to where I was talking about these crochet earrings. Well, because they were orange and green and I thought they looked too folly, but they really don't. I really think that looks, the real reason I didn't want to wear them is because definitely these are not for me. Oh, here we go. But notice the coil mechanism at the bottom and the round of these aren't pearls, these are some gemstone that I don't remember. They turned out a bit smaller. And so, but these I want to give to Clarissa because they're so nice and bright. They're so happy. They look so happy. And they really do bring out the best of me when I see them on. I just like that little, actually I'm an orange fan. The thing about it is that I don't look good in orange. And I especially don't look good in this rusty orange. Maybe if it was bright, maybe okay, but I don't even think so. Because of the color of my hair and because of all, the color of the skin tone and all that, orange doesn't do me justice. So, but I love it. I can't. I love oranges. I love browns. I love greens. I love. So, you got to deal with it, right? What you try and do actually is to use it on accessories and on things that are away from your face, like on your pants or your shoes or something, your accessories, but nothing that's going to attract, that's going to take away from your facial features. So, yeah. So that's why I didn't want to wear them, because they're not for me. Although I have worn them. I won't lie. I have worn them, but I didn't want to wear them on the podcast because they're not for me. But they are lovely. Let me tell you, they are beautiful. I really do like them. I'm always shy with my skills and my crafting, and that's one thing I really want to talk to you at the end of the program today. And so I always think nobody's going to want or nobody's going to like anything that I make. But anyway, Clarissa is going to like those because she's like that. So that was another thing that I worked on. Worked on some earrings too, small things give you satisfaction because you can get them done. And when they're nice and shiny and pretty, then you even have more satisfaction. This episode is called Wrapping Up the Summer. And as such, one of the things I had to do as I wrapped up the summer was go through my wardrobe seriously. And now since I'm going back to physically be in the classroom, look at what I have and see what still fits me and what can I wear to work. When I go out, I like to dress differently from when I dress in the house. And so I've always been like that. As soon as I walk through the door, I take everything else and back to my household attire. But I do like to look different when I go out. Now, I know not everybody is like that, but yeah, I'm the kind that likes to put on my makeup and lipstick. I have no lipstick. COVID left me with no lipstick because it's been over a year since I've used my lipstick and I just don't dare. So I need to go get lipsticks. But I would like there to be a moment when I can use them again. But you can't use them right now because we're mask mandated. So no lipstick for now. But I do hope that there will come a day where I can actually dress up and wear lipstick. Full face of makeup. So anyway, I had to clean up my closet. That's the story. The end line of the story is I had to clean up my closet. And doing so, I found some obviously garments that didn't fit me. And those that were store-bought, well, they were put into a bag and they were gifted or taken to what do you call the recycle center where they save clothes for people that go and look for used clothes and things like that, because they're not in bad condition. If they're in bad condition, I throw them out, but used. And so I also found this crochet blouse that you will recognize before. When I made it, I presented it as the feather and fan top. I tried it on, and for some time now, I had noticed that it was too tight. I had even offered to send it to Clarissa, but she wasn't sure that she would use it because it was pink and she's not a big fan of pink. So, here we got it. Okay. It's by Rebecca Averill. I've said that before. And she's talesofthehook.blogspot.com. But she might be just talesofthehook.com now because she does sell her patterns. She only has one size. It's small to medium. So obviously that's the size that I had to make it. It was between 32 inches and 36 inches on the bust, depending on your gauge. And she said 4mm or 5mm hook required, or whatever's required to meet gauge. And so when I checked my Ravelry page, I simply put up the data that was in the pattern and not my own data. So I don't actually know what hook I made this up with because I checked the podcast where I presented it. It was one of the podcasts that I worked up with Clarissabeth. So it was on episode 30 where Clarissabeth and I presented this for the first time. Actually, Clarissabeth was wearing it. So if you want to go back and take a look at that episode, that was episode 30, and it was called Not Knitting. And but I took a look at that section and I didn't mention what hook size. I did mention that I was using a smaller hook size and then a larger one, but I didn't say which one. So I just went with the pattern. And what I did was I was finding it too tight around the tummy area. So, and I do remember that when I made this, I did not do the decreases to fit it as she recommends because I found that it was already so tight on me that I didn't want to make it any tighter. But for Clarissabeth, it looked well because you could tell that it actually went in, even though I didn't do them. I guess it was just the idea of the different stitch patterns that she uses for the fans and the feathers. The feathers become more and the fans become wider. And I guess that in itself just made it look like a fitted garment. But it was too tight around this area. Well, tighter than what I like it now. Another time in my life, I dress differently. Now, I want things to be loose. So I struggled to find the ends that had been woven in. And I found them and I was able to rip back. If you'll remember, this was a two-tone because Clarissabeth had brought this from Edinburgh and then she just wanted to, and I wanted to use it. But, so what I've done is I have ripped it all the way back to here. And then I picked up a 4.5mm hook because the pattern suggests a 4. I said, well, maybe I follow the pattern. And I went up to a 4.5. And then instead of doing shaping to reduce to make it fitted around here, I actually added to my fans and to my feathers to make them wider. So I kept on going a little bit wider, a little bit wider, a little bit wider until I ran out of yarn. And this had always been a little short on me. This had always been a little short. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to rip it back without losing yarn. And I didn't, and I knew it was already shorter. And since I wanted to make it bigger, I might need more yarn. So I went looking through the internet to see if I could find either of the two colors. I knew I couldn't find this one because I looked forever for it the last time. And it was discontinued. But then I found a dusty pink that I thought looked like the other one, but no, it's not. So when I finished this version, I'm just going to hold it up. When I finished this, I wanted to add a little bit of length to it. And I also wanted to kind of like, I wanted these scallops to not be so scallopy because of the fact that I had kept on adding here and adding here. As I went down, the scallop edge became very pronounced. And so I wanted to reduce it a little bit. And so I kind of like filled in the gap here with a little bit of large stitches from smaller to large and then back down again. And it might have made a second passing. I don't know. I could do one because I have enough. I have more than enough of the yarn. But notice that it's not exactly the same. I'm surprised that you can barely see the difference there. You can barely see it, but it is slightly darker. I'll hold it up here so you can see. It is slightly darker. But I was okay with that. It has been steamed. I have steamed it as I've worked it because I wanted to see, you know, how it was going to look up. I mean, how it was going to work up. And I also wanted to see how it fit. But I do think that I could actually stretch this and make it fill in a little bit more. And I could also think I could stretch it this way. And so it could have a little bit more, it's got a lot of give to it. So I think I am going to wash it and I'm going to pin it. I'm going to actually block it is what I mean. Because I have steamed it, but I just steamed it and let it dry flat. I didn't stretch. I am going to stretch and I'm going to see because I want to be able to wear it. And it's okay if I have to put something under this one because of the fact that I'm in an air-conditioned classroom. But I do want, and it looks very long on Cora because Cora is short. But it's not that long on me. So it's a remake, not a finished object, it's just a remake. And something you've seen before, but I have completely ripped it back and redone it to try and give myself a better fit now that I have a different body shape. So there, I know I've talked about it extensively before, like I said, and not on, since I went solo, but on the podcast when I was with Clarissa, and but that's okay because it's good for you to know that we makers make things and we don't necessarily bin them. We don't necessarily make them just for a show. We also make them to use them, to give them life and to appreciate them and show them some love. And maybe even hopefully, this cotton is so good that I would even hope that maybe, like I say, it couldn't go to Clarissa because she doesn't like pink, but who knows? Our likes and dislikes change over time and our preferences, so it might change over time. But yeah, so that's my feathering fan remodeled, redone, remade. There are some projects that need to come back that I've abandoned. For example, my garita wall art has to be finished. It was for last year's National Hispanic Month, which is around the corner again, come September, October. And so I want it to be done. So I will be picking up that. And so I'm going to put my garments to the side. Not that I don't have any other blouses or tops on the go, but I have purchased patterns. So anyway, other things on my mind. I would like to also submit to a magazine. I'm not saying that I would like to. I had the idea because I saw a magazine submission for coming up now September that seemed to be in an area that I might, that I could, well, I don't know if it's in an area that is in any way connected to me, but there is another new magazine coming out, and I believe it comes out this month. Maybe September, October then. I'm not sure. It also comes out in the fall. And it is called Radical Threads. Radical Threads. And they requested submissions for upcoming, they've got all their submissions online, so all the themes for the upcoming year on and I believe it's going to be published 4 times a year. 3 or 4 times a year. And so the one that's up next is for next September. The topic is the occult. And so I don't know what made me believe that it was something I would be interested in, something that I wanted to do. And so I've been working on a design for that. And I have been exploring and I've been trying to expand my skills. And so I've been trying to convince myself to submit to this magazine, but the effort has been useless because I've got the design complete. I've done a swatch. I know what colors I would like. I don't know what colors they would pick. But, I've thought a lot about it is what I mean. And it might be something that I wouldn't make myself if it weren't for the submission. I keep having this imposter syndrome, that syndrome where you feel like you're a fraud and you really can't do anything and you really don't know how to do anything and you're just faking it and people are going to find out. And I went back into these days recently to my book. This was a book, if you remember the beginning of the year, Simple Abundance, Daybook of Comfort and Joy, written by Sarah Ban Breathnach. She's written a series of these books. This is not the first one. So if you want to look into her, you'll find more than one book called Simple Abundance with different topics. And this was gifted to me by my daughter for Christmas. And little by little, I've been reading into it. Thought about sharing the whole year with you, but then kind of like got off track. Until now, this week, August the 18th, I found something that I really did want to share with you. Because I was thinking about this idea of wanting to submit to the magazine and not daring to do it because not feeling up to it, not feeling good enough, feeling like, I can't compete with all these other people that do these things. And not that I would have to, but, in terms of sometimes for publications, you do compete with other people. And so, but I mean, just because you submit doesn't mean they're going to accept it. But then I was also like, oh, what if they do accept it? Can I make this? Anyway, the author talks on August the 18th about the topic, owning your talent. And I thought it was so to the point of what I've been thinking about, or some conversations that I've been having with my daughter Clarissa Beth over the last couple of weeks. And so I wanted to share it with you. She says that she ran into an old friend, a radio producer at a party. And he said to her, I hear you're on your third book. How long do you think you can keep this sting going? And she answered, it's a great scam. And she said, laughing, as long as I can, I guess. And then she goes on to, you can kind of like feel how she would actually feel when she was saying those words. She really didn't mean it, right? She's having imposter syndrome here. So she goes on to say, perhaps because I so often feel like a fraud, authenticity decided I'd be the perfect host. Explore me, she whispered. Peer behind the curtain, look under the rock. See who's really there. Many artists feel they'll be found out sooner or later, and probably sooner. For when we create, although we know that a higher power works with us and through us, the work comes into the world with our name on it. This is the artist's struggle. If we don't create, we snuff out the divine spark. If we do create, we feel we're showing a false face to the world because we know we didn't do it alone, even if everybody else does. But the struggle and the scam stop once we cease denying our talent and become willing to own it, humbly, gratefully, and respectfully, and then share it with the world. Many of us squander precious natural resources, time, creativity, energy, emotions, comparing the size of our talents to those of others. Today, ask the Spirit to call forth your authentic gifts so that you might know them, acknowledge them, and own them. Do you want to live more abundantly? Have you buried your talents? How can we live richer, deeper, and more passionately if we aren't willing to invest in ourselves? Many of us have played it safe for too long and wonder why we are so miserable. Playing it safe is the riskiest choice we can ever make. So, I say, let's not play it so safe. You've got talent. I've got talent. We've got talent. Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there and see what happens. That's what I say. So guys, that's all I've got to share with you this week. Hopefully it has been uplifting for some of you, and that if you were down in the dumps, it has made you smile once or twice, and hopefully you're feeling a bit better now to go ahead with your daily chores, go ahead with your life and do what you got to do, get it done and out of the way. So until we meet again, guys, keep yourself safe, keep yourself healthy, and keep crafting. Bye for now.